So we have a chef today. Chef Jamie Waterbury grew up here in Mankato. He attended the College of the Cordon Bleu in Minneapolis. Jamie has spent some time working in San Francisco Bay Area along with the Minneapolis area. He has been with the University Dining Services for 3.5 years. He was previously a chef at Neighborhood's Italian Bistro. Our chef today, Jamie, has a passion for working with seasonal ingredients and sustainable seafood. Let's give him a hand and start cooking.
Thanks for the introduction. So today we're going to be learning how to cook a little bit healthier and kind of showing you guys what a 2,000 calorie diet actually looks like. So we're going to do 3 different things. First, we're going to start out with whole wheat pancakes with banana, walnuts, and pure maple syrup. After that, we're going to move on to mango lassi cup, which is some just vanilla yogurt with some cardamom and some mangoes. Really good flavors going on there. And then from there, we're going to do a whole wheat caprese pasta. So, for the first course, I'll go ahead and get these things going. All right. So we're going to make the pancake batter. It's a combination of wheat flour and all-purpose flour. And the reason for that being is, well, the wheat flour, you get all the good grains. That the all-purpose flour is a little bit more stepped on. It's got more preservatives in it. The whole wheat is just, you get the great grains. So we do a combination of both, and the reason for that being is because the wheat flour will make your pancakes pretty dense, and so if you do mostly wheat flour, it's like 2 parts wheat flour to 1 part all-purpose flour. You still get fluffiness to your pancakes, and they're not as dense. So if we're going to mix all our dry ingredients together, I've got some baking soda here, some baking powder, salt, just a little bit of sugar. We're going to mix that up a little bit, make sure everything's combined. Then we're going to add our water. You just want to add enough water to make a batter-like consistency. If it's a little thick, just add a little bit more water. There's going to be a few flour lumps in there. Just go ahead and mix it up until most of them are out. You don't have to get all of them out. All right. Now we're going to get our banana. You want to use a banana that's pretty ripe because you don't want it to get mushy, but you still want it to cook all the way through and not be hard. So we're just going to take it, cut it in half. Cut it again, and just make some chunks. So you're basically just quartering it and then dicing. The reason we're adding the banana after we mix everything is so that we still have a little bit of that banana consistency. It doesn't break down. It still stays together. So you just want to add that. And then walnuts. Walnuts are a very good nut. A lot of misconception about nuts is that they're high in fat so that people don't eat them, but nuts are actually very good for your diet. They're high in fiber, they're high in protein, and walnuts are actually very good for your heart. So we'll mix that up. Batter. You want to basically put about half of a cup into each pan. Now I understand, you're at home you're probably going to be using just one pan, but to speed things up, I just brought two along. It's hard to see with the flame, and there we go. This you can buy at Cub Foods. That's actually where I got it from. It's pan, but it's high heat. So if you put regular cooking spray in there, it's just going to turn black. It's going to get real gross. This actually withstands the heat. I don't really recommend sautéing or anything like that. I'd recommend olive oil. But as far as like doing pancakes, it's a great alternative to butter. When you got the whole wheat flour in here too, you don't want your pan too hot because it's going to be a more dense pancake. It's going to cook a little bit slower than a traditional pancake. Okay. So we got those going. What you want to look for in a pancake before you turn it is you want the outsides to start forming bubbles and looking dry. You don't want the batter to look wet at all. So once that happens, that's when you want to flip. It usually takes about a minute. Another thing when you're making pancakes, a lot of people I see, they pat them down. You don't want to do that. By doing that, it takes away the fluffiness, and so then it's definitely not as airy and good to eat. Starting to get form. And then once we're done, we're going to put pure maple syrup on there. Pure maple syrup is a little bit more money, but at the same time, you don't need as much because it's a lot more rich, and also it doesn't have any of those preservatives. It's all natural, unlike the pancake and the waffle syrup that you see on the shelves. All right, once those are flipped, we'll let them sit another minute. And of course, everything we have here today, there's recipe cards. Over here, we do have a full meal plan for a 2,000 calorie diet for a whole week. And then there's also grocery lists for each day of things you'd need. Some of them, there is, around 20 ingredients per day, but a lot of it is crossing over with different days. So it's not like you have to buy 20 different things every day. And 2 pancakes per serving. Got our pure maple syrup. Shooting for a couple tablespoons. Finish it with a garnish. There you have it. The whole wheat pancakes with banana, walnuts, and pure maple syrup. There you go. Does anybody have any questions so far about that? Yes?
Jamie, I find with pancakes, it seems like the first one's always don't cook as well as those after. Do you find that the case, or am I doing something wrong? Heating the pan or something like that?
You know, sometimes the first one does cook slower if you don't let the pan heat up to where it needs to be. Other than that, you know, I mean, the batter, like for the cooking demonstration, I didn't really let it rest. But you know, you do want to let it rest typically about 5 minutes before you do start making them.
Just to repeat the question was if the pancakes get less, sorry, what was it? Less?
It just seems like when I cook pancakes, the first ones don't come out as good as those thereafter. And I was just wondering if there's any tip or if I'm doing anything wrong. So thank you for your answer.
No problem.
Hi, I just came, so I might have missed it, but
Yeah.
how healthy or unhealthy is the maple syrup?
The maple syrup, I mean, you gotta take into consideration there is a lot of sugar, okay? But at the same time, it's better than buying like the imitation, because the imitation's full of preservatives. You know, this is just pure maple syrup that they just boil down to give it that nice richness, and it's you know, I mean, sugar. You do want to limit your sugar. You know, I mean, sugar, one misconception people have is that fat is what makes you fat. Sugar is also a big part of that because your body stores it. So, I mean, you just want to make sure if you're going to have the maple syrup that you know, you are keeping track of how much sugar you are having that day.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Is there any advantage to using a griddle versus a pan when doing like pancakes?
Well, a griddle, you know, it doesn't have the sides on it like this does, so you can really get underneath there. This is actually what I was using was a fish spatula. She took that away. You know, because I mean, most people don't have something that thin as a spatula at home. They just have like the plastic ones or like like when you use to flip burgers. So the griddle, you know, you can buy nicer ones so that they cook more evenly. But for the most part, the griddle is what you'd want to use just because you don't have the sides here to kind of interfere with you flipping the pancakes.
Okay, that's the second question. I've never heard of PAM, high heat, before.
Uh-huh.
So when would you use regular PAM? Because it seems like every time I use PAM, it's for something high heat.
Okay.
You know?
Well, like, you know, we go through cases upon cases of it here. What we use it for is baking. You know, if you're going to throw something in the oven, that's pretty much what it's meant for, is just to make things not stick to the surface of like the sheet pans.
Are there any other questions? No?
Good. All right, for the second course, we're going to move on to mango lassi. Lassi is a drink that is picking up around the world. I know kids from India, they make it every time that we have an event. It's a yogurt-based drink mixed with spices. Today we're mixing it with cardamom. Cardamom has a very unique taste, and this is actually what the sample is going to be for everybody to try. So basically what I'm going to do is start out with a mango. Now when you go to a store and get a mango, a lot of times they are not ripe. So you want to feel the mango and just, you know, you don't want it to be mushy, but you want it to have a little bit of give. And a lot of people, I don't really understand how to cut mangoes, and I think that is the reason they don't buy them. But there is a pretty big pit in the middle of a mango. So I'm going to show you how to cut it, and then I'll show you the pit. So you can either use a knife, or you can use a peeler, whatever you prefer. want to take that skin off. All right, got all the skin off. And now the pit, there's two sides that you're going to get pretty big chunks off of. And then there's one, the pit kind of runs, it's got like a little curve in it. Just kind of feel your way around the mango with your knife. So it's kind of hard to see from there, but here's the beginning of the pit, and it's white, and so it's pretty long and real skinny. So then what we're going to do from there is we're going to dice it up. I'm using pretty much the whole mango, but at home, you'd use half of it. And the reason I'm using more is just because I want to show a demonstration of how I layer it, and it's a bigger cup. So put that on the bottom. Some thin slices for a garnish. Now for the yogurt, this is just plain vanilla yogurt. When you're buying vanilla yogurt, there is a lot of different kinds, as far as calories go. You can get the light yogurt that's got Splenda and stuff in it. That's usually around 90 calories. And then this yogurt got real sugar in it, so it is about 150 calories per cup. Then I got some cardamom here. Cardamom is a pod that you grind up. Like I said, it's got a very unique taste, so I hope each one of you try the sample that we have. You don't need much. Cardamom goes a long way. Just going to mix that up. Scoop that on top of our mango. Then on top, we're going to put some pistachios. Again, pistachios, yes, they're high in fat, but they're also good for you. They make you feel full for a long period of time. And it's the good fat. It's got a lot of omega-3s, which is the fat you really want to eat. Little sprig of mint for a garnish as well. There you have it, the Mango Lassi yogurt cup.
Are there any questions about that one?
That one's pretty simple and straightforward. That one's good for, if you don't got a lot of time. That took us, 5 minutes?
Is that spice one you can find at just a regular grocery store? Or?
You should be able to find it. It's a little bit, the spice is a little bit of more of a spendy one, but if you buy a bottle, it's just like the pure maple syrup, it's going to last you a long time because you need such little amount of it.
Thank you.
Are the other pieces of the mango good for anything besides maybe the garden pile?
As far as the skin in the pit, Well, I mean, the pit, I mean, you could use to grow the mango tree if you wanted to, but as far as that, you know, we don't really use anything, we don't really use it for anything. You know, so I mean, we just use basically the meat of the mango.
Could you grind them up for a Slurpee or something, or aren't they edible?
You could, yeah, I mean, you could eat it. It's fine. It's just the skin of the fruit. I don't know how well it would taste. I never tried it. It might be a little bitter, but I mean, yeah, you could definitely try eating it.
Any other questions?
All right. No. All right. So next on deck we have whole wheat pasta. We're gonna do some chicken, some cherry tomatoes, some fresh mozzarella, and fresh basil. So I did already cook the pasta. Just basically follow the instructions on the package. You want to cook it till it's al dente, which is basically, it means firm to the tooth. So you just want to make sure you don't want it to be mushy at all. You just want it to still have a little bite to it. Okay. So for the chicken, just going to put a little salt and pepper on there. We got some olive oil here, white wine. The white wine, for those of you who aren't 21, you can go to the grocery store and buy cooking wine. So if that's what you got to do, that's what you got to do. So both pans, we'll start out with some oil, looking for about a tablespoon. That's what happens if you got a little moisture in your pan. We'll start that. This is about 4 ounces of chicken right here. It's a good portion size. So we'll let that go. And here for demonstration purposes, I do have red and yellow tomatoes. You know, the yellow tomatoes you don't need to necessarily have, it's just for color. Start that. Let those saute for a good minute. Get a little char look on them. A little bit more oil. We're going to throw a little garlic in there. The garlic you don't want to throw until last minute because it's minced, so it'll burn fast if you throw it in at the same time as the tomatoes. You're just going to let that saute until it becomes fragrant. Oop. Then we're going to add the white wine. White wine, we're just going to deglaze the pan with the white wine, so we're getting all those flavors that we got from the tomatoes and the garlic that are stuck on the bottom. We're getting those off. A bit more. Basically, you want to cook that down till it's almost dry. About like that. Got a little bit of liquid, not too much. I'm going to throw 4 ounces of marinara in there. I'm going to throw my pasta in there to heat it up. So you can cook the chicken like this. I would recommend just searing it on the stove and finishing it in the oven. The only reason we're doing that is because we couldn't bring an oven out here. Let that go for a minute. Then we got our fresh mozzarella here that we'll add. Fresh mozzarella is a lot different than like the pizza cheese that you find. It's a lot of the shredded cheeses in stores is part skim mozzarella, so it's made with part skim milk, and it's got the moisture pushed out of it so that it's shelf stable longer. Fresh mozzarella is made from whole milk, and then it's hand stretched from the curd and formed in balls, and then it's just soaked in a brine. So by having the fresh mozzarella, you have a lot more of a better flavor. It's not as bland as part skim mozzarella. And you can eat this, a lot of dishes from places I've worked at, I've made like a bruschetta out of it. You can use it for like just tomatoes, basil, on top of like a baguette, and just eating it raw is very good. A little salt and pepper and some olive oil. So the cheese I'm not really trying to cook all the way through. I just want it to be warm. And we got our basil here. This is called a chiffonade. Basically what that is you just roll all the leaves up, and then you just cut them, you thinly slice them. So this is a little thicker, than you really want it, but it still is fine. Okay, so now that we got that hot, we'll throw a little basil in. You don't want to throw any fresh herbs in until the last minute. Kills the herbs and doesn't make them taste as good. Okay, and then we just want to cook this chicken till it reaches an internal temperature of 165. At 160, so we'll let that go for 30 more seconds. There's also at Hy-Vee, I saw they have, so basically 2 ounces of pasta, a portion is 200 calories. They now make 150 calorie whole wheat pasta, which I found pretty interesting. Get that on the plate. Throw the chicken on. Garnish with a little bit more basil. There you have it. Chicken with whole wheat pasta. Any questions about that? Bueller?
So what temperature did you cook the chicken?
The chicken, you want it to reach an internal temperature of 165 degrees. When you start the chicken breast, you do want a hot pan. So you want to wait till that oil is almost smoking, or if it does start to smoke, just kind of shut off the burner for like 30 seconds, turn it back on. Because when you got your pan that hot with olive oil in it, nothing will stick to it.
Oh, okay, so then you would like medium heat or high heat?
Medium heat, because you don't want to burn the outside while the inside's getting to the temperature you want it to get to. But also you can just sear it just like a minute on each side, and then finish it in the oven. So by searing it, you're locking in the flavors, you're locking in the moisture, and then it won't dry out after it's done baking.
Okay, and you don't have to like turn it over every once in a while, or?
Nope. Once you sear it, you should just, 350 degrees, a 4-ounce chicken breast takes 15, 20 minutes.
Okay. Hey, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Any other questions? No? Okay, just to let everyone know, there is mango samples up here for people. There also the video will be on the Impact and Sodexo pages in about 2 days. So if you want to watch the videos while you cook, then you can.
And then also, like I said, there's a whole week of a 2,000 calorie meal plan up here. If you have any questions about things that aren't in there as far as recipes, you can reach out to me through email, phone, or you can stop by. And I will be sticking around for about a half an hour to answer any questions. Is that it? Well, thank you all.